when I used to lock myself in his bedroom, but I think it's okay.
Okay. You all right? You settled?
Yeah, yeah.
Good. All right. So, we're on session 3 of the new package, and I was reading through our notes from last week, and it was, I don't know, how did you feel about last week? What impression did you come away from it with?
Well, yeah, generally speaking, I think I came away with a sense of like being a bit more how would I say, a bit more capable to see things in a lucid manner, more less like driven by habits. And now that I realize that some of my emotional reaction are habits, I think. But then I must say no. But then no, this week was a total disaster in that sense.
Okay. Well, I before we move ahead to this week, I just want to say that for me, I felt that last week was a milestone, a pietra miliare, because you said completely spontaneously and naturally, what was it? What were the words? For a moment, I stopped seeing his behavior as a lack of love, and my perception of him shifted. And that for me was a real milestone. You stopped catastrophizing and dramatizing and taking it to this high Gothic view of love, where it's the agony and the ecstasy, which we've spoken of before. And it was another form of love. It was a form of love that included acceptance. And I don't know where this is going, but this is okay. And I'm seeing him not as expressing a lack of love, but expressing himself. So I think that was really a really big deal for you.
Yeah, yeah. The fact is that it did. No, I'm totally not that. I was not able anymore for 1 second to be in that place. I'm totally back in the Gothic. And I even think that there is something in there that makes me feel alive.
That's fine, because the ecstasy is wonderful.
No, it's the agony, actually, only agony. But I think even the agony probably makes me feel. I don't understand why.
That's okay. That's okay. When the time is right, you'll get more of an understanding with it. But I think for now, where you are is a really good place to be. It's the best place I've seen you in terms of an intimate relationship, because there was for the first time acceptance.
But I mean, anyway, we broke up. I don't want to see him anymore. I'm not. I really. Okay. So I'm not there. I'm definitely not there, and I can't stop crying. I mean, it's 1 week. Whenever I speak to an adult person, I just cry, and I'm glad I'm surrounded by kids, because then it goes well. But where any type of adult, I just cry. I even wanted to ask for a couple of times to ask for like laser sessions, because I even cried in the office with my director. I mean, it's not only the agony ecstasy of love; it's the agony and it's the agony of life in general. And yeah, I don't know. I really feel. I feel pretty much like I'm back. I feel I'm back in a very difficult moment right now, and I think it comes from the being overwhelmed. So it's work, it's a lot of things, but Tito, puoi stare di là, per favore?
Okay, well, let's break this up. So the obvious question is, what would you like to focus on today?
Yeah, I probably would still focus on the love part, because work, I think it has highly, I mean, it just has to do with the overwhelmed. Sorry?
Has it to do with the change program?
No, I think it has to do with the overall situation and with the huge workload that I cannot cope with, and I'm trying to sort out. I brought it up also to colleagues and even to my director after, but I think it's just a matter of objective workload. And for me, you know, the problem is also that I cannot always easily separate work because I have so many other things on my plate that it's always a very tiny balance, and it's enough. Like I had my cat got very, very sick. I saved him for, like, probably they told me if I'd gone to the veterinary 2 hours after, I would have been dead. And just that's, I mean, just the fact that I have a crisis with the cat, I cannot go to my mother. Then
Okay,
I have
stop,
yeah.
you're down the rabbit hole.
No, but anyway, it just that everything is so filled that
Okay.
I really have a very tiny mind.
Let's bring you back to your focus. You said today you wanted to focus on love. So there's a lot of things going on, but if you go down that rabbit hole, we will not get any benefit for you from this session. So let's be very disciplined and focus on what you want to focus on, okay? And I stopped you very abruptly. Why? Why did I do that? Why didn't I just let you continue explaining to me what was going on?
Yeah, to focus, I guess.
Yeah, and to stop you down the rabbit hole, because once you're down there, you cannot get out.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, I think I'm improving on that side in getting out of the rabbit hole a bit.
You are. Today seems as though it would be easier for you to go down and stay down. It's from the speed at which you're talking, the difficulty I'm having understanding you. I'm finding it quite difficult. So that tells me that you are more off-center today than you have been for a while, and that you usually are.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's deal with the focus that you chose, which is the relationship and love. So what can you tell me in one sentence that would be helpful for me to know about your focus? What do you want your focus to be within this topic?
I mean, why can't, my only thing is why I can stop suffering like that all the time. I just want to stop this suffering.
Who creates your suffering?
Probably myself.
Yeah, definitely yourself. Definitely yourself. The Dalai Lama says there are only two things, and I have to remember this because I haven't used it for quite a few years, that cause us suffering: wanting what we don't have and not wanting what we do have. Wanting what we don't have and not wanting what we do have. Okay. Do you think that pain is a choice in life? Do you think it's unavoidable? What do you think about pain in life?
No, I think it's unavoidable in I mean, I think there are situations that cause pain and it's part of life, but probably there's no need to, I mean, there are way to overcome it.
Okay, do you think that all pain is unavoidable, or do you think some pain we can avoid?
Yeah, some pain we can avoid.
Very definitely. And we feel more pain when we try to avoid the unavoidable pain. And the breakup of a relationship is unavoidable pain. Okay?
Yeah.
Because even if you're the one that says, I'm finishing it, and you're very happy to finish it, there is still some pain attached.
Yeah.
So where do you think your pain at this breakup is? Where do you think it lies? What's causing it?
Well, I think in this very case, I think it's that feeling of I even feel, yeah, I mean, it's the abandonment feeling and then unloved feeling is very strong, and I feel also like cheated, and yeah, I mean, it's probably a bit stronger than usual because it implies, yeah, another woman, and so it hurts a bit more, but it has to do with feeling unloved.
Okay, do you think that you can go from very intense feelings of abandonment and then not have them anymore? Or do you think that's going to take time for you to work through and gradually reduce the intensity of those feelings?
Yeah, no, maybe, yeah, of course it will take time.
Okay, so then that begs the question, what do you want to do with these intense feelings while you're still having them? Because if we know that the feelings they took a long time to build up in us and they will take a long time to dissipate, then that already says, okay, I need to be patient here, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I need to accept that I'm in the middle of a process. What else will help you accept the intensity of the feelings of abandonment, knowing that you're working on them and you're working to get rid of them and to heal them?
Yeah, I think also, I mean, finding spaces to express them probably helps me.
Yeah.
And yeah. Yeah, maybe try to find some consolation and yeah, allowing, accepting them. Right?
What's the first step to healing these intense emotions, do you think?
Yeah, probably let it out. I don't know.
No, that's not the first. That is a step, but it's not the first one. The first one is recognizing the intensity of the feelings. The second one is accepting them. And some people can go from not noticing them to accepting them straight away. Most of us can't. We have to have that middle step of recognizing them. Boom, I feel like shit today. I feel really abandoned. All I want to do is cry. Okay, that's where I am today. That's okay. Okay. I have it every time I move home. I have a week where all I can do is cry, and I feel sick. I can't sleep. I can't eat. I am just totally, I'm lost. I'm terrified of going forwards, and I don't want to go back. And there's a whole range of feelings in me. And I've learned over the years to say to friends who see it for the first time, don't worry. It's just me working through the old complex trauma. So don't take it on board. Don't think you have to comfort me. I will do all of that, but just please be aware that I will cry and I won't be very happy and my brain won't be functioning very well. I will be just beside myself. But it will pass. It always does. So that's the process if things are really, really intense. And feeling those intense feelings is fine, but not for very long, because then you're down the rabbit hole. So it is really, really important to recognize them, accept them, and then self-regulate. Self-regulate is what? Self-regulate is when we say, okay, what do I do with these feelings? How do I want to best use them? So how could you best use the feelings? You said earlier that you thought there was some energy in the agony. Is there some energy in the feeling of being abandoned and unloved for you? Does it give you energy?
In some moments, yeah, I mean, in some moments, it creates a sort of reaction in terms of like slapping on my face how much I don't love myself, and like pushes me towards sort of recognition of how, sort of recognition of the fact that I deserve more than, yeah, than what I could deserve.
Just take a little step back for me, because I'm not sure if I've understood. You said you got energy because there's a sort of slap on the face.
No, that sometimes when I'm so deep in the agony,
okay,
and I look at myself in this agony, I sort of feel it's not deserved, it's too much. And this makes me react, I mean, at least makes me, yeah.
How does it make you react?
Yeah, at least it tells me stopping the commiseration on myself, this like feeling miserable.
Okay, so I'm going to use my words just to see if I've understood you, okay? So at some point in feeling the agony, you recognize that it's too much for you.
Yeah, that it's unjustified somehow.
Okay, so it's smisurato.
Sorry, it's
misurato.
Sì. Sì.
Okay, it's unjustified. Okay, that's good. So that's a good thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
One way to put it would be you're overreacting to what has happened.
Yeah. Yeah.
Good, simple English word, overacting. Okay, all right, overreacting, sorry.
Yeah.
So what happens then? When you say I'm overreacting, that's enough, I'm overreacting. What typically happens after that?
That I disconnect a bit from that intense feeling of agony and misery, and I sort of, I get out a bit of the rabbit hole of that feeling. I'm more sort of open to
Good.
the other things in life.
And then what happens after that, typically? Not always, perhaps, but typically.
I mean, there are many things that can happen, and that I concentrate on other things, and I feel better.
And that's a very good reaction to what you're feeling.
Yes.
So is there anything wrong with that? Is there anything you could wish for more of in that? How do you feel about your reaction of, at a certain point, saying, I'm overreacting, I don't want to go down the rabbit hole, what can I do to make me feel better?
No, that's a good, yeah, it's
a good reaction?
Yeah,
I think so. So I'm not quite, I got the impression to begin with that you were not happy with the way you react.
Yeah. No, with the way, I'm not happy with the way with the big agony that I end up, even if I don't think the reason justified, even if I think it's unjustified. That
Okay. All right. So can you help your feelings? Do you have any control over them coming, or what they are, or what their intensity is? When they arrive, do you have any control? No.
When they arrive, no.
No, you can't. No one can. And feeling of abandon is a perfectly natural and healthy thing for you to feel, quite honestly.
Mm.
It might sound strange to say it, but given your family history, it's natural. So can you accept that, okay, it's here, I'm feeling abandoned again? Without, because if you can accept, you protect yourself even more from the rabbit hole, and you make it easier for you to go straight into, or more quickly into, what do I want to do with this? How do I want to make myself feel better? Without any judgment, because I think what, perhaps from what you're telling me today, what's hijacking you is that you criticize yourself for the feelings that you're having. One thing to observe, I'm overreacting. It's another thing to judge and criticize yourself for it.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? The secret is keep judgment and self-criticism out of it. Acceptance, yes. Self-compassion, yes. Modern brain, yes. Self-regulate, absolutely. Observe, absolutely. But keep judgment and criticism out.
Yeah.
Many of us spend the whole of our adult lives feeling feelings that weren't safe for us to feel as young children. And everything that we've piled into ourselves because it wasn't safe for us to feel, it takes us a lifetime to feel as adults.
I didn't
no
know.
control over them, but it is our body's way of balancing out the trauma of our childhood and recovering from that trauma very slowly, gradually, in a way that we can cope with, because it's been triggered by a similar response, a similar event.
But you mean it was not safe for us to feel certain feelings so strongly because it
wasn't safe for us to feel them at all. It put our lives at risk at times. Not always, but sometimes. It will always put when we're very young, it will always put our relationship and with our mother at risk. It will put the love that she shows us at risk, and so we do not feel any of the emotions, because if the mother figure cannot witness, and I forget the exact words. This comes from Alice Miller, who is very, very still. I mean, she was born more than a century ago, and she is still considered to be the expert in parental child abuse. And she says, actually, I'm going to get it for you. A child can only experience his feelings when someone accepts him fully, understands and supports him. If he must put at risk losing the mother's love, he cannot experience these feelings at all, so he fails to experience them. That's our body's mechanism, our psyche's mechanism for protecting us from things we cannot cope with. And so it comes out, everything that we've shoved into our bodies comes out over time as adults. Every time we have an experience where that same feeling that we couldn't experience as a young child is triggered. So there's nothing to criticize ourselves for. It's a very healthy clearing and healing process.
No, that's interesting, because also the other day I really feel a lot in this moment that all this agony, these feelings, they come from somewhere else. I mean, they are not, this is why I say sometimes they are not justified Mm.
Yeah.
I feel that there is much more than what is happening in this very moment.
Absolutely, absolutely. That's why, and you absolutely hit the nail on the head. That's why you feel as though you're overreacting, because it was enormous when we're children. We had no middle ground. It's, we can't tie our shoelaces. Oh, the world's going to end tomorrow. That's it. That's the end of our lives as we know it. We have no regulator on our amygdala. It goes from one extreme to the other. It's either fully off or fully on. We learn that as we grow older and we have the experiences, and our parents or parental figures help us negotiate and navigate through those difficulties so that we learn skills to cope with them, so that they don't become so all-consuming.
Yeah.
And the fact that we still have experiences where we recognize that the experience is much smaller than our reaction to it means that there is trauma there.
Okay. It's,
because the child sees everything as life or death. Because there's nothing else that exists. A young child needs love, acceptance, warmth, food. Where does she or he get it from? Their mother. When that doesn't come in the way the child needs to develop healthily, we develop this overreaction to every similar experience. It becomes a repeat of the tragedy, the first tragedy. So just knowing that helps give us a little bit more information that will help us accept, okay, we're overreacting, but we're overreacting for a good reason, and that's because we're healing that original trauma. We might not get to the stage where we heal it fully, but every time we accept the feelings of this is awful, I feel really abandoned, we are healing it a bit. And that's good.
Yeah.
That's why instead of judgment and criticism, we are called to go to self-compassion.
Yeah.
It's here for a reason, and that's okay. And I might not understand the reason fully, but my body does. And that's okay. I'm going to go with it. I'm going to honor my somatic intelligence, or what we call body wisdom.
Yeah, it's very helpful. I mean, it's also because it this sort of speaks. Yeah, I don't know. It helps. So it gives also the scientific basis to all this. It's very helpful to understand that it's something in a sense. I think that if I think in a way which is abandonment for me is natural, it helps me putting it in a, giving
it. Is it easier for you to put into perspective?
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah.
Perfect.
And having its place and not just being overwhelmed by that.
No. And the secret really is, Ilaria, the more you can accept yourself at these times, the more quickly you come out of it.
Yeah.
So you need to remind yourself that this wasn't allowed when you were younger, and so you couldn't feel their feelings. So now, of course, you're going to feel them, the full force of them, not as a 40-something-year-old adult, but as a 1-year-old, a 2-year-old, a 3-year-old, where everything is super intense.
Yeah. No, that I mean makes a lot of sense. It
does, doesn't it?
I mean, explains a lot, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I really react. I feel like these are child reactions, that extreme.
Yes, well done. It is your inner child doing now what she couldn't do then. And of course, that's going to hijack you, because that level of intensity of emotion tends to take over everything else. But as adults, we do have choices.
Yeah.
Those choices only kick in once we accept.
Yeah.
Sometimes we have to accept that it's going to be a bad day. Sometimes we can accept it's going to be a bad 10 minutes or a bad half hour or a bad morning.
Yeah.
Sometimes we say, okay, this might be a bad day, but I'll do the best I can. And we find that an hour later, it's no longer a bad day. The day's going really well.
No, I think in that sense, I see an improvement in how I face the difficult moments. Like today, I had to go to visit my mom, and I was the last thing I wanted to do. There was rain. I thought I don't want to drive. And also, I link a bit the fact that Nicola is no longer here, because he used to drive me there, which for me was like a sort of a big relief. And then I actually thought, when I started driving, I thought, yeah, but driving it's not bad. I've always been driving in my life. It's nice. You go through the countryside, as long as you're not stuck in traffic, which is something that, of course, but I thought it's not of the 3 hours I'm away, which I had 2 hours drive and 1 hour there. In the end, the drive is not the bad part. It's fine. I'm with myself. I look at the countryside. I've been even on the phone with some friends. And I thought, yeah, I'm making these 3 hours like a nightmare. It's not like that. It's actually quite okay.
Good.
And yeah, and especially for today, I had to do the cambio stagione for her.
Yeah.
And I thought that part is fun. For me, it's easy. Anything which is practical for me it's much easier with my mom rather than being there and chatting. And doing something, it's always manageable. I can do that.
Yeah.
And I realize how much I tend to improve a bit when I have this perspective. Oh my God, I cannot make it, and then the reality is not as bad.
No, it's usually never as bad.
No, not true.
So what we can do is recognize that there's an inner child who has to express something for her own emotional health and our own emotional health. But we can react, and we must respond to that inner child as the adult that we are, enriched by all of our life experiences and our extra abilities and everything that we've learned while we've been growing up.
Yeah.
Good.
Yes, and so that reaction is much more on the acceptance and on the understanding and the compassion side.
We are, as human beings, we are designed to be emotionally very rich. The problem that we've created for ourselves, I believe, through certain psychotherapeutic approaches and spiritual approaches, is we've come to think that certain emotions we shouldn't have. We shouldn't be angry. We shouldn't have envy. And emotions are now divided into good emotions and bad emotions, and that's really unhelpful for us, because we need to be how children are. Because when we're born, we come into life emotionally rich. We can feel envy, we can feel resentment, we can feel frustration, anger, sorrow, grief, rage, all sorts of things, because it's part of our emotional vocabulary. But as we grow up, we say no to certain emotions, and we become emotionally poorer and poorer and poorer, until we get to the stage where some clients come to me, and if I ask them how they feel, they will always respond how they think. And I have to say very gently, no, how do you feel? How does it feel in your body? And they have become completely separated from their body. And I think most of us have become completely separated in that way. And that leads us to become the adults that our parents were, who were so emotionally poor, they couldn't see our emotions and they couldn't react to them because they trained them out of themselves.
Yeah.
So we have this vicious circle of one generation being born emotionally rich, gradually having the richness of their emotional life taken away from them by the adults around them because they aren't desirable, they aren't good, they aren't what nice girls do. We turn into those same adults that robbed us of our emotional richness, and we rob our own children of our emotional richness.
Mm.
So we become the abused who become the abusers.
Yeah.
And it's very, very sad. That's part of the reason why I do this work.
Mm. No, it's yeah. I don't know. It's a thing that I like in general is to put things into a broader perspective, which is, I mean, it's a bit of probably the reason why I studied anthropology. But I like
absolutely
the broader perspective of things, and I think it's true. I mean, and it's because in the end, there are questions that I always see also in the personal, because I mean, in the end, it's the individuals also that change the world, and I see it. I see the dimension of the personal attitude, yeah, psychological attitude of people, and then how this has an impact on the overall universe. And it's funny because one thing I always have with Nicola is that I say, I always thought that we had a cultural barrier a bit. It's my first relationship with someone from North America, and it's, I mean, I really have the feeling that they grow up with the fact that their personal freedom is what matters, and this comes before anything else. While I mean, for me, I always learned in a sense that in italiano we say la tua libertà finisce dove comincia quella degli altri.
Yeah.
And I think it's a cultural thing still that the North Americans, they do everything in name of their own personal freedom.
Yeah.
So I always saw also this sort of cultural difference.
Yeah, which are fascinating.
Yeah,
fascinating.
Yeah.
So,
no, but what you said on the emotion, and yeah, it's true. I'm even thinking that also some of the very good spiritual approaches like Buddhism, but it's still that there are always emotions like anger that I just put in a corner. I mean, that I classified as bad. There are good and bad emotions, and yeah.
There are technically 3 forms of anger, and only one of them is healthy. But that one, when we know how to use it, is unbelievably healthy for us. Unbelievably healthy. I remember once one of my old clients wrote something on my Facebook page, and it was about the brain or the mind. And he said we should, no, it was the ego. And he said we must get rid of the ego. And I said, as a psychologist, I couldn't disagree with you more, because we need our ego. It's what allows us to say no to things we don't like. Don't treat me that way. It's what allows us to say, I'm going to do this, and have the determination to achieve it. We would be just, like rag dolls if we didn't have ego. So I adore certain aspects of Buddhism. I follow and practice certain aspects of Buddhism, but I cannot in all conscience become a Buddhist, because I don't believe in some of the more extreme things within it. And the same is true of anything.
Yeah. No, I agree. I just mentioned Buddhism because in my neighbor, my friends around here, I told you I have a nice group of friends in where I live, mainly single women, and we do a lot of things together. And like 2 of them, they follow and they practice a lot of Buddhism, and they told me, why don't you join? And I mean, part of it is interesting, and I like it. And I mean, two of them also, they come from sort of dysfunctional families, and we always say it helps for people like us who had some difficult family situations. But then I also, I don't know, I don't fully manage to be convinced, but I also did not get enough into it. I don't know enough. I mean,
I think healthy curiosity is very helpful here, quite honestly, because it allows us to ask the questions to understand whether or not something's going to be a good fit for us and how far it fits with us.
Yeah.
So let's come back to you and love and suffering. How are you feeling about the whole thing now? Are there still things that you want to look at with me? Or has the discussion about Alice Miller changed everything for you and made you feel more comfortable?
No, yeah, the difficult thing is always from sort of understanding this and feeling it, and yeah, it's always between what we sort of know at a level, but we don't really know. And I mean, for this to become practice,
what do you need to do for this to become practice? For example, Alice is saying that if we don't have an unconditionally loving adult around us who will accept our extreme emotions as children, we won't experience those emotions at all. How can you use her work to go from acquired knowledge, which is in the brain and archived, and lived knowledge, which is in the body and in every cell of your body, so that when you need it, you're not cut off from your brain, you can still access, oh, I remember this. How can you do that?
This is a difficult part for me. I read the article you sent me, and I think some of these like approaches were proposed in some moments help.
Mm-hmm.
But then, I mean, yeah, it's
the easiest way to do this is to take one thing that you want to work with. Okay, so for example, accepting that your overreaction is a perfectly healthy expression of healing. Okay, then you remember that each day. You can remember it twice a day. My overreaction and the agony that I feel is a perfectly healthy expression of my healing.
Yeah, but no, this is a perfect example. How do I?
You remember it twice a day, and you simply repeat it to yourself. The more you repeat it, particularly before you go to bed, for some reason I haven't understood it yet, but the brain tends to absorb more of these sorts of things, positive things. No, I do know why, I'm sorry. What happens is when we repeat it before we go to bed, just before, then what happens is that stays in our brain and the brain works on it while we sleep. So it archives it in a different way, that piece of information, because you're repeating it. And the more we repeat information, the more we change the architecture of our brain in our favor. Because we have a negativity bias. I don't know if you know this, but our brain has a negativity bias because, which was developed when we just had our first and second brains. So it was developed when we just had one brain, the amygdala. We needed the negativity bias because the brain's responsibility was to keep us safe. And so it would rather us think that there was a risk in the grass for us 100 times, and there only being a risk for us once, because if we got it wrong, all we needed to do was get it wrong once and we would be dead. So we wouldn't have the possibility to pass on our genes.
Mm.
So it has a very well developed and highly consolidated negativity bias, because as we evolved, we went on to developing the second brain, which is the lizard brain. That too has a negativity bias, because it too deals with our emotional responses.
Mm. Mm.
And it's only our modern brain that doesn't deal with our negative responses. And that modern brain is very modern compared to 2 million years plus of negative bias.
Mm.
But so we've got this negative bias, but we can do something about it. And the way we do something about it is simply by thinking of things that we want to think about, and we want our brain to start using before we go to sleep.
Okay.
Because then the brain archives it in a different way.
Mm.
And helps us tip the negativity bias towards more of a positive bias.
Mm.
So it's an iterative game. The more you repeat it, the more you remind yourself, the more the brain goes, oh, okay, we need to make this an automatic habit, that she remembers this easily without having to think. So we're going to get this group of synapses and neurons, and we'll wire them all together for this thought. And so that from now on they'll come as a package.
Yeah.
And all she'll need to do is start that process of thinking that thought, and it would all continue automatically. That's done at night.
Okay. Yeah.
So repeat, repeat, repeat. You don't have to do it more than twice a day, but one of those times, do it before you go to bed, or while you're in bed, just before you sleep.
Okay.
That's why neuroplasticity and neuroscience says when you go to bed, get rid of all of your technical equipment, your IT equipment, your electronic equipment, and do something nice. Read a nice book, have a review of the nice things in the day, the things you're grateful for, because that sets a pattern in your brain to look for the positive.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's repeat, repeat, repeat twice a day.
Okay. Yeah.
And that's how we switch the archived information, the acquired information that we've studied, we've learned, we've heard, we've seen, and we turn it into lived information, so it's all over our bodies, and it becomes part of our cellular memory. So it becomes instinctive, habitual, automatic.
Yeah, that I find it like very difficult, that passaggio from.
What's difficult about it?
No, I don't know. It just doesn't come natural to.
Does it come naturally for you to repeat something? Is that difficult for you?
No, I'll try, definitely. No, in that sense, no, I just, yeah.
I think the way you were trying to do it without knowing how your brain works may have been difficult for you. I completely agree with that. But I think once you know that you just need to repeat what it is you want to make into a habit, and your brain will do the rest, then it's an easy step to do.
Yeah.
That's why people use affirmations. I don't know if you have friends who talk about affirmations, but it's a positive statement of belief, and they don't work as they should do if we don't know how the brain functions. But now that we have neuroplasticity, and we know that we can shape our own brains with our own thoughts, and we can do it simply by repeating that thought over and over again, and at certain times of the day, at night before we go to bed, then it makes it very much easier and things tend to work much better. Because if we're working with our brains, a natural process instead of against it. So if you only remember, just remember Alice Miller's words.
Yeah.
I'll put them in the notes for you before you go to bed each day. That's it. And if you don't remember it one night, you don't remember it one night. Do it the next morning when you wake up or something. It doesn't matter. But so long as you can do it regularly enough.
No, I'll try, definitely.
Often you can put I'll put Post-it notes on where I'm going to be at that time of the day, and that reminds me. Oh, before I get into bed, I put my mobile phone on the table. Well, doing that makes me see a Post-it note.
Yeah.
Or I put it on the lamp.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, all right, yeah, fine. So we can support ourselves to do things like this, and it's really simple. And very soon we find that we don't need the Post-it note or whatever because we've created a new little habit. Okay.
Yeah. No, I think I don't know. There are moments in which it just it feels like it just feels like it's too much, and I don't know. I feel I have no energy for it.
Then don't do it.
No, not for that in general.
Okay.
I have moments in which it feels like I will never change it. It feels so hard.
What can you tell yourself in those moments? What if you had an unconditionally loving mother? What would she say to you right now when it feels like that too much? What would she say? What might she say? Just say the first thing that comes into your mind. What might she say?
I guess she'd say that I can make it, and that I will make it more than I can make it.
Would she tell you that you're safe?
Yeah.
Would she tell you that she loves you? Would she tell you that she's here for you? Yeah. She would soothe you first. So that's what we do for ourselves. We become our own. If we weren't mothered healthily, then we become our own mothers. We must, because no one else can do it for us. No one. So when you get those times when it gets too much for you, then you mother yourself.
Yeah, but you see, even in that, I just do what what my mother did, which was like tell you can make it, which is
That's
not
okay. That's okay.
Yeah, but it's still that it's different to tell someone you can make it, rather than saying I'm there for you or I love you.
But I can do it for you, and then you can hear it. You can hear the difference, can't you? First, it has to be soothing, all right? It has to be, you're okay, sweetie, you're safe. I'm here. I'm listening. And then when you start to calm down a little, then it's, you can do it. I trust you. I believe you. I know you can do anything you want. And if you need some help, I'll be here. You do what you did to Tito when he was young.
Yeah.
You might not get it the first time. It may feel odd. For most of us, it feels very odd, very odd. For some of us, it feels just completely too painful to go anywhere close to. It took me a long time to be able to do it for myself. But gradually, it becomes the most natural thing on earth, and I do it regularly now. And I simply put my hand on my heart. I used to stroke my arms. That was something that my inner child liked. But now I find that she prefers the hand on the heart, and she calms down more quickly. My breathing gets slower, it gets deeper. My stomach relaxes, and that's what I do. I put my hand over my heart, and then I say, "It's all right, sweetie, I'm here." And that's it. And in the morning, I have a thing that I do, which is not every morning, but some mornings when I know I'm really going to push myself, under the shower, I will put my hand over my heart when I'm clean, and I will say, "How are you feeling today, sweetie? This is what I'd like to do. Are you all right with that?" And I feel into my body. We can develop habits that allow us to mother ourselves, particularly when we're pushing back the boundaries.
Yeah.
And we can do it really well. Might take some time, but remember that the whole secret to this work is about small, tiny steps.
Yeah.
So that we don't derail ourselves. So you didn't say. So the first time you do it, you said, "Well, you can do it." Okay, fine.
It's if I think of, I mean, the one of the difficult moments probably in my life, which was when I was pregnant of Tito, and was, I mean, it was a bit messy, the relationship, everything, no, so I was when Tito was born actually, and with his father things were going very badly, and it was a very difficult moment, and I remember this probably is the moment in which I felt my mother the closest as ever. Was the moment in which, I mean, I told her mi sento che non ce la faccio, and she told me certo che ce la fai, and for me this was the top of everything I got from her in 44 years. That's why, yeah, but was, I mean, on the text message, that was it.
Well, now you know, you've seen a little bit about how it works. Soothing first. You're soothing the little baby within you,
Yeah.
who hurts and has no other way to express it except for through her body. So you soothe that little body.
Yeah.
You know that you're soothing because your body calms down. It's a really visceral thing.
Yeah. No, it was good to read that article. I did it last night, and when also my cat was just back from the veterinary clinic, and I was in bed, and the cat came there. I was very cuddling, and Tito, before going to bed, he was also there, and we stayed a long time, like cuddling the cat, which was safe now, and I had just read that article, and also the thing of the hand of the heart helped me then, but was, I think for me it's very important, physical contact. It's something I never ever got from my parents, and I'm like still with Tito is now, I mean, the same size as I am. I'm still very, I really like it. It's something that calms me down.
Yeah. So if there's no one else around you, give it to yourself, all right? Now, I'm afraid we are going to have to close because I really have to watch the time. I just want to know what your takeaways from today are, what you think have been most helpful things for you today.
Well, in a sense, the fact that, that having clear that abandonment is something natural for me, that it's natural, it comes, and that there are reasons for that. It helps, maybe it, yeah, sends away the feeling of I'm wrong and all those things. And then, yeah, probably the more the tip of repeating to myself that that, I mean, if the idea of being able to accept not only with the mind, but with the rest, that my reaction is actually an expression of my healing. If by repeating it I manage to to feel it in my body, it would be very good.
Just, I think part of it is I'm going to do this because the scientific evidence is there.
Yeah.
And sooner or later, we realize that the change is really happening. We might not feel it straight away, but we will feel it at some point. And it may be a month later when we suddenly realize, I couldn't have done that a month ago, so this is obviously working.
Yeah.
We might realize it a couple of days later. We might realize it the same day because we find, oh, I've recovered more quickly than normal. I feel great. So, okay, so everybody reacts in their own way and in their own time. So there's no right or wrong to this. What I have found from personal and professional experience is that often it's helpful. It gives us a little bit more of a boost to have the science behind it.
Yeah.
Okay, because then we have the evidence, and if we don't see results straight away, the science keeps us going. All right.
Yeah. No,
so
sure.
Be kind to yourself. No judgment, compassion, and acceptance. All right.
Okay.
Okay. All right, my love. Enjoy the rest of the day, and I'll see you in 2 weeks' time.
Yeah.
Or are you
Holland, but will be easy, I'm sure. I just need to understand the timing of that course I will be taking, but I'm sure it will be feasible. I mean,
yeah. Okay. Well, you've answered my next question. Fine. Perfect. Okay. I'll wait for you and see what happens. I have changed my booking on Thursdays now.
Okay. May I ask you about these webinars? Is this something that you?
It's not a webinar. It's a free 15-minute live session on Facebook that I do every Thursday. That deals with different aspects of having a healthy relationship with yourself. So I sort of split the big themes up and take a little chunk of them at a time and work through them. So because I have a series of videos, it's a 1-minute video with a 1-minute tip that I post every day on my professional Facebook page. Every week I have the Facebook live session. So it's a live recording. You can go onto my Facebook page and you can listen to it. But I think you have to you have to like my Facebook page before you get access to it.
Because I'm not on Facebook, and now this is the only reason why I probably want to. That I'm totally disconnected from LinkedIn, Facebook.
Well, we have to talk about this later because I really have to.
Yeah. No, do that. Yeah, sure.
We can talk about it at another time. Okay.
I'll ask you.
All right.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Enjoy the rest of your evening, and the next time I see you, you'll be somewhere in another part of the world.